a couple years later, funny enough, I put a song on MySpace that then got me a record deal at Def Jam. Writing with other artists was sort of something that I never thought about, but amazing for me. And then I just, it was one of those things that you don't plan for that became your life. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to roll with the punches, all the way from Dynamite, obviously to Butter, to Permission to Dance, to like, the remix of Savage Love. Like all the stuff that we've done together to this point has been really seamless and very collaborative.
You're listening to the Radcast. If it's radical, we cover it. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Ryan Alford. Welcome to the latest edition of the Radcast. We're going down the entertainment and music avenue again this afternoon, my friends. I've got a super talented singer, Grammy-nominated songwriter, producer, vocal producer, so many titles I can't even keep my head on straight. Jenna Andrews, what's up?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm awesome. I'm feeling like dynamite and butter all in one.
Oh my God, I love that.
Pleasure to have you on the show, and congrats on all the success so far this year and the last couple years.
Thank you so much.
I know it's been a bit of a whirlwind, and all of us navigating the pandemic, and some of us having banner years, even in spite of that. So it's just great to see all your success.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting couple of years, just in the sense that obviously as people, it's something that we never thought we'd have to go through. But as for my career, it's been, the best 2 years for my career life. So it's been a very interesting time for me.
It's been interesting. I've talked to a lot of creative artists and different things here in the last few months. And, it's everybody knows that the time period has been challenging in a lot of ways. But it seems like for some of the true artists that have had time maybe to spend longer on certain things, and I don't know if that's been true for you, with having to somewhat be apart, but maybe getting you in your zone. I don't know if that's had an impact on you with having, be able to focus better. I don't know.
Well, I think, for me, it's, I think it was definitely that. But then in the very beginning of the pandemic, when my song Super Lonely came out, that was actually written before the pandemic. So that was, that was very, very lucky in the sense that it became, the pandemic song. It's something that really, helped cheer people up in the beginning, so that was a really cool feeling. But other than that, like, obviously all the BTS stuff and all, the rest of the stuff that's come out during this time has been made in the pandemic. And that's, really just because there's so much more time to like focus and have a different type of process to be able to, for me, just be able to zone, like you said, zone in, go in for hours, not feel like you have to go anywhere, which was really nice.
Yep. Well, let's, I know we'll build back to, the work with BTS and other artists and some of the songwriting hits you've had, but maybe let's start from the beginning or, wherever you want to take us. But I want to give everybody, kind of the Jenna Andrews story a bit and, your journey, into the field.
Yeah. Where do you want me to start?
Oh, just start. You start where it's natural. Like, well, I want to build towards, the business of music and how it's changed with streaming and writing and all those things. But I'd love for them to know just kind of like your journey. I don't know. You start from wherever it makes sense for, I guess your love of music and everything else.
Well, yeah, I started when I was a kid, like literally when I was 5. My parents bought me like this little piano, and I just taught myself how to play. And that was kind of a thing where they were like, oh, I guess you're musical. Do you want to, pursue this? And I think for them, like, they were never pressuring it on me. It was something that I wanted to do. So, from a young kid, I just always was in every lesson possible, whether it be, piano or vocals or dance or whatever it was. And so this has been a part of my life since the beginning. And then when I was about to graduate high school in grade 12, I met a concert promoter because a lot of I was just always sort of a hustler trying to get on as, in any way I could. So I was from Calgary, Canada, which doesn't have a lot going on. So a lot of the artists that would come in, I would just, ask the promoter if I could sell tickets to open the show. And basically, one of the promoters introduced me to a producer that I then moved to Vancouver to work with. And that was when I first got my, first production deal. And then a couple of years later, funny enough, I put a song on MySpace that then got me a record deal at Def Jam. And then, the story continues.
Yes, I heard MySpace in there. It's like,
I know.
I love it. Yes, date. I feel like I'm dating myself. Like the original music social media platform. Before TikTok or Facebook or anything else. So, talk about the transition. I mean, I know are you still producing your own music? I mean, like you're writing, you're doing all those things. But obviously, you found a niche with vocal production and writing. What's that transition or balance of those things of being your own artist versus writing for others? What's that been like?
Well, for me, like when I was signed to Def Jam for like 7 years, and when I left the label, I think for me, I was definitely signed right on the cusp of when all the streaming stuff really, started in terms of like Spotify and mostly Spotify in terms of like that, kind of like you said, changing what the industry is now. I mean, it's so much different than even when it first started, obviously. But anyway, I think for me, it was weird being signed for 7 years and only I put out one song in an EP and one mixtape in like 7 years, which is people put out in a month now, so so I think coming off the label, I was just so hungry to just put out music and have all the songs on my hard drive released. So I think, writing with other artists was sort of something that I never thought about, but amazing for me. Cause I was like, oh my God, these songs get to come out in the world. I love this. And then I just, it was one of those things that you don't plan for that became your life. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to roll with the punches, kind of thing.
Yep. What's as far as your own stuff, like what are your highlights? Like when you, how would you classify your music? I mean, what genre? Seemed like it covered a few different genres.
I mean, definitely in the R&B land. I grew up into a lot of R&B. So for me, it's like, R&B, soul, pop. I definitely categorize it like that. I mean, my own artist stuff, when I was putting it out, sort of had like a little bit of like Massive Attack or Portishead as well, Billie Holiday. But I'm actually doing like some artist stuff right now with one of the guys that I wrote Butter with, Stephen Kirk. We have an artist project we're working on that's definitely like more R&B leaning. So that's exciting.
That's cool. I love it. And Massive Attack rings a bell with me. That was my jam back in the day. I still enjoy it, but like had a lot of that on like vinyl and different things.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about writing and working, with BTS and K-pop's, at least for me, like I know it's not come out of nowhere, but it like seems like it for me, who's not necessarily plugged into every mainstream thing. I was like, it seems like it wasn't a thing, and now it's like taking over the world. What's that process been like, working with them and writing with them?
I mean, it's been amazing. They're just such they're so easy to work with, and they're so talented, and honestly, it's been some of the best music and some of the best like experiences that I've had working with artists ever, just because as much as it's been in a pandemic and I haven't met them or been able to see them, because a lot of the work we've done actually is over WhatsApp and all of the notes that we send back and forth to each other. But they've been really like amazing about trying my ideas and, being very collaborative. So that was a really cool experience for me. And all the way from Dynamite, obviously to Butter, to Permission to Dance, to the remix of Savage Love, like all the stuff that we've done together to this point has been really seamless and very collaborative.
What's the music business like these days? Like, if you were to describe it, it seems so much. I know it's always been more complicated than people that just listen to music realize, but it just seems so layered now. We talked about the streaming, but the fact of how many people are involved in a single album or a single song it just seems so dynamic and so complex. Am I overcomplicating it, or is it truly that dynamic?
No, it definitely is that dynamic. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I think, obviously, I think because we have access to so much today in terms of what you can add, like just on the production side and things like that, that's definitely plays a part. But also, I think it's a lot to do with like, you may have an idea with a certain group of people. Let's say like I write it with one person and one producer, one writer, and we have a song, and then you bring it to the artist, and the artist is like, oh, I have my person that I want to bring in that brings my flavor. And then that person comes in and like, so it's more about like, that it's case by case, but in that situation, a lot of times like the artist wants to bring their sound into what the song is. So sometimes that ends up adding more people, but really that's a good thing for me. I think whatever takes the song to put a place that it needs to be, I don't care how many people are on the song.
Right. Who are your biggest musical influences?
I mean, honestly, like growing up, my biggest musical influences were like Brandy and Mariah Carey.
Go ahead.
It was probably Brandy, Mariah Carey, and Billie Holiday, because like Billie Holiday, just her heart, and like, you just felt everything that she would sing about. And I think like the emotional side of listening to her music was so like it would just take you over. I love just driving and listening to her music. So that's something that really influenced like the way that I think about emoting in a song, if that makes sense. Like it's just, I don't know. There's something that's just so, and obviously her life was so crazy. I don't know if you saw the movie that recently came out. But that it was amazing. With Andrew Day. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Amazing.
Oh, so crazy.
I didn't know that story. So I kind of went into it blind. I didn't know the story to that level.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty crazy. I mean, it just makes you, I love how much, like, that's the way that I mean, obviously not the pain that she had to go through, but I feel like with music, when you can listen to somebody's like pain through their music, and it's just like, you don't know anything about them. That's pretty crazy. Like it translates. Just, that's what the craziest thing about music is.
It is. It's the emotion. I mean, I grew up in a musical family, and it plays such a huge part in our, I don't know, a human dynamic of, it takes people from good moods or bad moods to good moods, from sad to happy to, sometimes it takes you to a sad place, but it's not a bad place necessarily. And it's amazing that the power that music has on us as people.
I know, exactly. It's so true.
Do you enjoy the business? I mean, is it,
Sure.
is cutthroat as ever, or has it gotten better? Is it like, do people play nice?
I mean, it's definitely like, as politically speaking, it's definitely the same. I don't necessarily enjoy that aspect of it, just because I feel like, the music business is such a oxymoron. It's just so, it's like there's such a creative aspect, and obviously there has to be a business aspect, but that part it's not always hard, but it can be hard and challenging, just because, you make this baby in such a pure way, and then you see it go out in the world, and there's all these like, potentially corrupt things around it. So it's hard in that sense, but I mean, it's also, it can be fun because it can be a game, like playing the right tips and things like that.
I like it. So Jenna, talk to me about like the songwriting process and like, the marriage between artist and songwriting. Like, I imagine certain artists come to you, for songwriting help, but are you, constantly like toying with ideas, and then, maybe you or your team shopping songs to different artists? What's that process like?
No, it's definitely like that. However, I think in today's world, like it's so much about the visual aspect and the narrative of what an artist is trying to say in their story. So a lot of times it's becoming more of songs that, you're writing with the artists or developing with the artists in terms of, creating their story along with just like the song,
Right.
obviously that does exist to be able to pitch a song. For example, Butter, was that, but I mean, I'd already worked on Dynamite and sort of really gotten to know the guys and really understand their voices and stuff. So in writing Butter, that was something that was super conscious when writing all the lyrics and, certain melodies and just like the way that they would phrase things. Like that was something that I feel like was in my, all of our heads in writing the like tailored for a great song. Does that make sense? So I think that it's not just like as easy as now being like, oh, this is a great song, let's just like send it to a bunch of artists. Like it's less like that in today's world, to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. So who's been your favorite artist to work with?
Oh my God, that's so hard.
Who's your favorite baby? Who's your favorite best friend?
I have a favorite. I don't know if I have a favorite. I love so many of the different artists for different reasons. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so hard to choose.
Is it? But it's, it isn't just about the numbers, but the sheer volume of downloads and listens. I'm sure, with BTS, what's happened with Dynamite and Butter, and other songs, like that's got to take a life of its own, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and I feel like that's, obviously something that's just completely changed my life. But, I think every journey is like something that I feel like will be in the memory bank forever, and I think like when I think of different artists that I've worked with or different times in my life or what it's represented, I feel like it's like, it's so special at that time. So I think that's why it makes it hard to choose.
What about, I want to talk about, the green room, but before we transition to that, any insights or artists that you'll be working with or anything that you can shed light on that might be, happening in real time these days?
Like that I'm working with now?
Yeah, or just stuff that might be coming or people you're talking to, like, no guarantees, but is there, I'm trying to get you to break some breaking news here on the Radcast.
I mean, no, I'm working with a bunch of new artists,
Okay.
So I'm working with this artist, Jessie Murph. We put out a song called Sobriety last month. And that's really exciting because she's an amazing artist, super talented. EPing her project, which is really cool. There's another friend of mine, Blue to Tiger, who's also amazing, great bass player. I've been like working a lot with her. We actually have a song coming out Thursday called Blondes that we did with like Teddy Geiger and Scott Harris and Explicit, and then just like a bunch of different artists. That's something that I'm just like, I love working with new artists and help developing them. I have a song on the J-Lo movie that's coming out on Valentine's Day next year with Owen Wilson. I think it opens the movie, so that should be fun.
Oh.
And a couple of little projects that I can't talk about yet, but are really exciting.
Oh, very cool. And you kind of said it there, but give us a name, give us an artist, like, not like I want like a prognostication here, like not that, they're a pet project, like something you really like, but maybe not be mainstream. Give me a mainstream, someone that's going to be big that we may not know. You got a name for us?
I think Jessie Murph for sure.
Yeah. So that's the name.
Love her.
All right, cool. I haven't heard of her. I'd heard of a couple of the artists you'd written for, but I haven't heard of that one. I don't know.
Yeah, she's amazing. You should definitely check her out. You'll love her.
What's the style? What kind of? The R&B, is it?
It's like a mix between it's like a mix between like Post Malone and Billie Eilish.
Oh, ooh, sign me up. Two of my, I'm not afraid. I mean, those are two of my favorites. I mean, that's as mainstream as it gets these days, but you'll find them in my playlist when I'm working out or something like that. So I love that. Let's talk about the green room. I know it's a passion project for you, and something that's really important with what's going on in today's environment and stuff, in just society and stuff. So what can you tell us about the green room?
I mean, I started the green room because I feel like talking about mental health is very important. I've dealt with anxiety, for as long as I can remember. And, it definitely, in my opinion, as much as it can be a burden in life, it really helps your music. And I think it's, in every session I talk about mental health to some extent with, whether it's my music or other artists' music, like, the talking point is so therapeutic in building the song. It really builds a relationship with the artist or with yourself. If it was my project and I was talking to a producer about what I'm going through, it's like, you go through that therapeutic journey to find what eventually becomes the song. So I was like, wouldn't it be cool for people to see, like, their artists they look up to or whatever that may be, talk about something similar that they're going through, and would, make them feel more human and less alone. And and obviously during the quarantine was a time that felt really, more appropriate than ever to start something like that, because everyone was so isolated. So, started it in the beginning of 2020. And, I called the Jet Foundation, which is a nonprofit for mental health. Love them. I'd done stuff with them before, and obviously they really liked the idea. So they provided therapists to be on every episode. So it's been really cool because there's actually real support. And we're just building it at every episode that we go. So there's sometimes if, there was like a life coach on one, there was a, guided meditation. So it's not always necessarily a therapist now, but somebody that can sort of speak to whatever the topic is. So that's been a really cool thing. I've probably done over 20 episodes and continue to do so. And I just want to grow, awareness for mental health.
That's amazing. And it's really cool that, that you've got passion around it and you're bringing that to life. And I think it's really important that people are becoming more comfortable talking about it, because it was so, I don't know, I think it was something that almost everyone is either struggled with it or knows someone that struggled with it, but yet, I don't know, there's an acceptability that's becoming more mainstream that I think is really great and really important.
Yeah.
What's you got time for, we do a little segment called Rad or Fad. I give you a keyword and you tell me rad or fad.
Okay.
What
does fad mean?
What does fad mean? What's rad mean?
No. What does fad mean?
Oh, fad. It's kind of fad, like may not be here to stay. Like it's a fad.
Okay.
Like, or you could take it as rad or bad.
Okay.
First one, the metaverse, rad or fad?
Oh my God. I don't even know. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to be rad, but it's fad right now. I don't know. I mean, Facebook's changing their name to Meta. I mean, like.
I know. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I know. Space travel. It seems to be all the talk with all the.
Oh, rad.
Yeah, okay. All right. You'd like to go to space?
I think that would be so fun. When I was a kid, every time I would do talent shows, and I have like video of this. It's so funny. Like they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'd be like, either an astronaut, a lawyer, or a singer.
Hey, well, you found one of them. Maybe you could be exactly a singer in space.
God. Otherwise, I'd be in space right now. But it is interesting to me.
Mom jeans, rad or fad?
Actually, mom jeans are kind of rad. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you wear them right, they're kind of cute. Not gonna lie.
Yes. And finally, TikTok.
Oh, see, TikTok's like rad and fad because I love it. But then like when you have to do it yourself and like it's just like you have to find your sort of identity without sort of feeling like you're just kind of jumping onto something, that part I think is kind of like fad. But I think TikTok's been really great in ways to, in certain ways, obviously to break songs and fad in the sense that it doesn't necessarily break artists, and that's really hard unless you really find the right way to do it, so and there's ways to break songs. It's all strategy. As much as you have this platform, you still have to be strategic with it. So it's a tough one because it's not TikTok itself. I think it's more rad than fad. How about that?
There you go. I like it. That might be the most eloquent way I've heard anyone, because I throw the TikTok one in there and it's probably, to be fair to TikTok, it's probably way past being a fad, so it's probably not fair. But it's interesting. Everyone seems to be. It's a little polarizing because, and I think you summed it up perfectly. You can't just jump on it easily. Like with Instagram, you know, a little selfie, you throw a story up, you don't have to think about it. And then TikTok, if you're not like editing it properly, doing it properly, it just doesn't come off right.
Exactly.
No, it's cool. Jenna, I really appreciate your time. I want to tell everybody where they can keep up with all things Jenna Andrews, the Green Room. Where can everyone follow along with all these great things you're doing?
Well, my social media is just the Jenna Andrews across the board. And then for the Green Room, it's the Green Room Talks.
Sweet. That's easy enough.
Yeah.
So the Jenna Andrews and the Green Room Talks. Sweet. I love it. I really appreciate your openness and coming on, and I dig that hat more than
Yay! Thank you.
No, I dig your style. I mean, it's cool. Like we didn't even talk about your influences there, but you got a unique style. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, I really appreciate having you on. Hey, guys, you know where to find us. We're at theradcast.com. Search for Jenna Andrews. Search for The Green Room. It's all there. You know where to find me. I'm at Ryan Alford on all the platforms. We'll see you next time on The Radcast.